You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 290. Stuck on your ex because you think no one else will measure up. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful brave hearts. Welcome back to the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast. I am your coach, Dorothy, and today we're diving into something I see all of the time in my coaching practice, but it rarely gets spoken about in the mainstream breakup advice world. So here we go. I had a coaching session recently, literally today, with a beautiful badass braveheart, we'll call her Jenna, that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. And her situation was so illuminating that I knew I had to share it with all of you because I bet many of you are caught in the exact same trap without even realizing it. So Jenna's been stuck on her ex for a while now. They work at the same company, which is a smaller company. They're practically neighbors. And even though it's been a long time since their official breakup, she still finds herself consumed with thinking about him, with thoughts about him, right? And he's now moved on, seeing someone new, and he never reaches out anymore. But here is where it gets interesting. When I asked her what freedom from this situation would look like, she didn't actually say finding someone new or falling in love again. She said, I'd have more bandwidth to focus on other things. I would feel reasonable with the ability to not think about someone who is not making an effort to be in my life. And that's when I spotted the pattern I want to talk to you about today, what I call the mental hostage situation, and how it might be the real reason that you are actually stuck on your ex. So here's what's happening with Jenna that I see in so many of my clients. She was running two seemingly contradictory thought patterns simultaneously, right? So we've got track one, which is I want my ex back and I can't stop thinking about him. That's one thought on one train track. And then we've got the second train track that is a thought that is there are no attractive, compatible men around me anyways. Both of those tracks happening at the same time. And here's the kicker. Her brain was using track two, there are no attractive, compatible men around me, to justify staying on track one, which was saying, I want my ex back and I can't stop thinking about him, right? It was saying, why would I bother getting over my ex when there's no one better out there anyways? Sound familiar? Makes a lot of sense though, right? Like why would we let go of track one when we have track two? And this is what I call the mental hostage situation. Your bigger and better life feels held hostage, not just by your ex, but by the story you're telling yourself about what's possible for your future. So I see this pattern constantly in my coaching practice, and someone will say they can't get over their ex, and the next breath they're explaining to me all the reasons why dating is hopeless, why they'll never find someone who measures up, why all the good ones are taken. They go on and on and on. I've heard it, okay? So in Jenna's case specifically, she had built up this belief that there are simply weren't men who could match her ex intellectually, physically, and emotionally. She had all these specifics. I'm not going to share them. So every time she met someone new, her brain would immediately catalog all the ways that they fell short of her ex and all the ways that she wasn't going to meet someone in her current circumstances. But the truth bomb here is that your desire for your ex isn't really about them anymore. It's not about the ex. It's about what they represent. A time when attraction, intellectual connection, and compatibility all aligned. And your brain is using that past experience as evidence that it can't happen again. And every time you look at someone new and feel nothing, your brain says, see? I told you so. Better stick with wanting the ex back. At least we know that worked once, right? Oh, the brain. We love it. So cute, so silly, right? But it's a protection mechanism. Your brain is trying to shield you from future disappointment by keeping you mentally tethered to something that's familiar that worked once in the past so that you don't have to look at what has never worked up until this point, even if that something is causing you a lot of pain. And the more you reinforce this pattern, wanting your ex while simultaneously finding fault with everyone new, the stronger it's going to get until you feel completely stuck, which is where Jen is at. She's built up a lot of evidence. She told me at least 3 times all of this evidence, and that's not even thinking about all of the friends she's spoken to this about, how much she's reinforced it in her brain, in any other sharing mechanism, journaling, whatever, right? So maybe you're wondering now, are you telling me then that my brain is actually using my pessimism about finding someone new as a way to justify staying stuck on my ex? And that is exactly what I'm saying. You've been fighting for your limitations rather than fighting for your possibilities, because the limitation of the fact that this happened once in the past versus this, I haven't found what works yet, period. That's more difficult to solve than something you've solved once before. But this is the game changer. See, when we experience a deep connection with someone and then lose it, our brain does something very interesting. It creates that reward pathway around that person, right? Similar to an addiction. And like any addiction, the brain will create all sorts of rationalizations to maintain the addiction. It's not rational to keep drinking when you're an alcoholic dying from cirrhosis of the liver, but you keep doing it anyway, even though it's killing you, and you've got a shit ton of rationalizations to keep you going. And one of the most effective rationalizations in the addiction of your ex is there's nothing better out there anyways. And that creates a false dichotomy in your mind. Either have your ex or settle for someone who repulses you. And when those are the only 2 options your brain presents, of course you choose the ex. I would too. Who wouldn't? Right? But here's the truth. That's not reality. That is your brain creating a self-protective narrative. And what I want you to realize is that these 2 things are connected. Your inability to get over your ex and your pessimism about your future relationships aren't separate issues. They're 2 sides of the same coin. And this explains why so many traditional breakup strategies don't work. When someone tells you to just find someone new, but your brain has already decided no one new will measure up, you're stuck. When someone says just give it time, but you're constantly reinforcing the story that your ex was as good as it gets, you're stuck. When someone says focus on yourself, but part of your identity is wrapped up in the story that you had this once in a lifetime connection that you'll never be able to replicate, you're stuck. The breakthrough happens when you recognize this pattern for what it is, a protection mechanism that's outlived its usefulness. There's nothing to protect you from. So what do we do about this? There's 3 things, okay? So first, we need to recognize that your desire for your ex and your perception of available partners are actually connected. They're reinforcing each other in a loop that keeps you stuck. Awareness, step 1, right? Step 2, we need to disrupt that pattern at its core by challenging the false dichotomy that your only options are your ex or settling for less. Those are not your only options. And number 3, third, we focus on what freedom actually looks like for you, which, as Jenna beautifully put, it's having bandwidth for other things, not being consumed by thoughts of someone who isn't choosing you back. Now, here's how this work looks in practice, okay? Number 1, stop trying to force thoughts that don't land. Thoughts like, I don't want my ex back might feel like a lie when you clearly do still want them back and you deeply believe there's no one else better. So instead, try neutral thoughts that create space for possibility without requiring yourself to lie to yourself. Some of those might be, I don't know who I might meet tomorrow. My sample size of people I've encountered recently is not representative of all people who exist. My ex represents qualities I value, absolutely, and those qualities exist in other people too. Number 2, I want you to notice when you're using your ex as a measuring stick for new connections. Every time you meet someone and immediately catalog all the ways that they're not your ex, I want you to pause and I want you to ask yourself, am I really giving this person a fair chance, or am I looking for reasons to confirm my story that no one will measure up? That does not mean accepting or settling for people who repulse you. Don't do that either, but give yourself some space. Number 3, challenge your brain when it presents the false dichotomy. When your mind says it's either my ex or being alone forever, I want you to respond with, that is one possibility, what are some others? And actually answer that question. I noticed this specific individual has so many stories that support her limitations, but I'm like, what are the stories that support your possibilities? And can you give them equal airtime in your brain and on paper? Number 4, focus on the freedom you said you wanted. For Jenna, that was this bandwidth to think about other things and not be consumed by someone who wasn't choosing her. And that has nothing to do with finding a replacement right away. And that gives you space and freedom to really think about, like, we have time. We have a moment to look at this. Now, one of the most powerful moments I actually saw in Jenna's coaching was, what if the problem isn't that there are no attractive, compatible people out there? What if the problem is that as long as you're mentally with your ex, you literally cannot see them? That's the thing about our brains. They're selective filters. When you're convinced there's nothing better than your ex out there, your brain will literally filter your reality to prove that belief true. It's like wearing sunglasses and then complaining that the world is too dark. The solution isn't to make the world brighter and lie to yourself. It's to take the sunglasses off. Rewind that if you need to. It's like wearing sunglasses and complaining that the world is too dark. We don't need to turn up the brightness of the world. We need to take the sunglasses off. That's what you're doing to yourself. So if you've been stuck on your ex for longer than you'd like to admit, I want you to ask yourself, am I caught in this mental hostage situation? Am I using my pessimism about my future relationships to justify staying mentally tethered to my ex? And if the answer is yes, I want you to know this. You're not crazy and you're definitely not alone. This is one of the most common patterns that I see in my work with heartbroken people. And it's also one of the core patterns we disrupt inside of my Get Over Your Ex program. Because getting over your ex isn't about forcing yourself to not want them anymore. It's about disrupting the neural pathways that keep you stuck in a loop of desire and disappointment. And this kind of deep pattern work is why my clients are able to get results when nothing else has worked for them. It's not surface level, just get over it advice. It's about truly understanding and transforming how your brain processes desire, possibility, and your vision for your life. And no matter where you are in your breakup journey, I want you to remember this. Your bigger and better life is not held hostage by your ex or by the story you're telling yourself about what's possible for you. The key to freedom isn't finding someone new right away. It's recognizing these mental loops for what they are, protection mechanisms that have completely outlived their usefulness, and then choosing to disrupt them one at a time. Because as you disrupt one, you will disrupt the second one. Okay? You're not broken, Braveheart. Your brain is just doing breakup brain. It's doing what brains do. It's trying to protect you from pain. But sometimes the very mechanisms that are meant to protect us actually keep us stuck in this beautiful new world that we live in where we're not getting eaten by lions. So the good news is once you see this pattern, you can change it. And that change can happen so much faster than you think. All right, let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. I love you so much, and I will see you next week, Bravehearts. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.